begin by talking about how how it came about, how the project started.
예, 제가 박쥐라는 영화를 한국에서 이제 만들었을 때 개봉하고 나니까 좀 이제 제 커리어의 한 시대가 이렇게 끝났다는 그런 기분이 명백하게 들더라고요. 너무 오랫동안 준비한 영화였고 제 능력을 최대한 발휘한 제 능력의 한계 안에서는 정말 최대치까지 갔던 작품이었기 때문에 그렇게 들어갔습니다. 그래서 이제 뭔가 전환점이 필요하다고 여기는 참이었는데 마침 처음으로 마음에 드는 작품이 미국에서 본 거죠. 근데 정말 타이밍이 아주 기가 막혔다고 싶겠습니다.
Yes, well, when he completed the production of Thirst, and after its release, he had the feeling that a chapter in his career came to a close. He had a clear and distinct feeling that a period in his career had come to an end. On Thirst, it was a film where he was pushing the boundaries of his ability, and he really gave it his all. And after having made that film, he was at a point where he felt he needed a turning point in his career. And it was at this particular time that he came across the script for Stoker. Up until that point, he had been getting a lot of scripts from America, but it was at this particular time when he was feeling that it was a time for a change or a turning point in his career that he happened to come across a script that he really liked. So the timing really worked out as well.
Maybe you could talk about what you saw in the script, what spoke to you.
예, 어떤 점을 봤다기보다 어떤 점을 들었죠. 또는 더 정확히 말하자면 어떤 것을 듣지 못했죠. 다시 말해서 굉장히 조용한 영화가 떠오르더라고요. 고립된 장소고 사람도 몇 명 안 나오고 말도 많지 않고 조용한 가운데 뭔가 어떤 소리들만 두드러지게 들리는 거죠. 나무 마루바닥이 삐걱거리는 소리. 시겠습니다. 말을 하지 않고 사람들이 숨을 쉬는 소리. 그런 것이 굉장히 신경을 건드리고 뭔가 긴장을 하는 그런 분위기가 되었어요.
Rather than what he saw in the script, he heard things while he was reading the script, or he did not hear things while he was reading the script. To clarify, when he was reading the script, this image of a very quiet film came to his mind. In this isolated mansion, populated only by a small number of characters, it provides for an environment where small sounds really stands out, as in the footfalls, as in the footsteps falling on the wooden balls on the floor, making creaking noises, or tick-tock sound of the clock, or even without there being a lot of dialogue, you can imagine in its place the breathing of all these coming from all these characters. It's something that gets on your nerves, something that creates a lot of tension.
Along with the sound, which was a very remarkable aspect of the film, it was nice that using a spare script, you were able to use so many film editing devices, like there's a lot of cross-cutting, and you do more with the cross-cutting than just to create suspense. It's actually, I feel like it creates kind of an aura. I don't know if you'd like to
음악적인 전제에서, 그러니까 영화 진짜 소리에 들리는 음악을 말하는 게 아니라 페이스, 리듬을 정말 흥미롭게 만들어줄 수 있으면 좋겠어요. 그래서 음악을 보시면 1주제, 2주제, 3주제가 차례로 굉장히 여러 것이 엮이면서 하나의 음악, 고조, 그런 식의 음악적인 효과가 지금 보였습니다.
At first, he thought what he could achieve by employing extensive cross-cut sequences was to imbue a sense of rhythm, almost a musical rhythm to the film. But he's not talking about music that you hear or the score, but in the context of the pace of this film, he thought he could imbue it with a certain kind of rhythm. And he makes a comparison to how in a piece of music you're introduced to the first or second or third themes, and these distinctive themes become intermingled and interweaved with each other to achieve a very heightening effect.
그렇게 해서 제가 했던 일이 악보를 이렇게 쓸 일이 있습니다. 그것을 배치를 생각하면서 씬 1, 2, 3이 있다. 그러면 그것을 잘게 쪼개 섞어서 1, 2, 3이 아니라 그냥 하나의 커다란 일을 하는 거죠. 그렇게 작업을 제일 먼저 했던 거예요.
So to explain the process of it a little, he took individual scenes and in a way repositioned them. The process by which he did that was to take scenes, for instance, if there were scenes 1, 2, and 3, he would take individual scenes and dissect them, divide them into smaller pieces, and then interweave and mix them up to create a bigger chunk of scene 1.
어떻게 보면 이 영화는 그런 커다란 덩어리들의 그냥 연속.
In a way, you could view this film as a series of these big chunks of cross-cut sequences.
나중에서 제가 그렇게 하려고 했던 진짜 이유는 스스로 뒤늦게 깨닫게 됐거든요.
And only later he came to a realization of the real reason behind why he wanted to use the cross-cut technique so extensively.
무슨 언뜻 봐서는 상관없어 보이는 라인, 이렇게 하나를 엮여지면서 결국 그것이 하나의 결론을 갖는 것이 될 수밖에 없고, 모든 이들은 결국 이렇게 될 수밖에 없었구나. 운명의 느낌이 50%는 들어왔습니다.
And that is to take these seemingly unrelated strands and by interweaving them, direct them to really one conclusion, as if that's an avoidable outcome, to imbue a sense of destiny to the proceedings.
I'm going to start looking at the picture for more questions. I will repeat the question. Yes. Okay, so the significance of the spider.
뭐 있어요. 그런 걸 제가 다 설명하는 것은 재미없는 일이죠, 상당히. 그렇지만 뭐 그냥 제가 최대한 관객이라고 생각하면서 제가 관객인데 한 영화를 몇 번 많이 본 관객이라면 어떻게 생각했을까 하는 데 대해서 말씀드리면 우선은 엉클찬이겠죠.
Well, to explain everything to you would be quite a boring thing. He would trying to answer your question by putting himself in the shoes of an audience member as much as he can, and imagine trying to see it from a position of audience member who's seen quite a lot of films before. What would this audience think? The significance of the spider is, first of all, he could say that spider is a metaphor for Uncle Charlie.
제가 봤던 것은 과거에 이렇게 기어가면서 바다를 기어가면서 저는 해변을 가는 인디아의 바다를 향해서 우주를 향해서 저라면 남친의 영화를 많이 보는 저라면 저 바다를 밝히면서 묵직한 그렇게 생각할 것 같아요. 근데 그렇게 가면 또 재미가 없죠. 그냥 무사히 다리를 타고 올라가고 원래 각본에서는 제가 쓴 것은 첫 등장씬에서 스쿼트 안으로 들어가고 싶었어요. 근데 그러고 나서 보니까 너무 처음부터 인디아라는 주인이 너무 이상하고 좀 너무 겁이 없고 그런 그냥 너무 많은 것을 선언하듯이 캐릭터를 소개하는 느낌이 들었어요. 그래서 그것을 처음에서는 거기까지는 갔죠. 나중에서 스카프를 쪼개서
And as this audience member, hypothetical audience member, he would see a spider crawling towards India's foot, which is working the pedals of the piano. And this spider is making its way across the floorboard and towards this moving heel of the saddle shoe. And this audience member, being somebody who's seen a few of Park Chan-Wook films before, would imagine that the spider would come to a horrendous demise and its life would be squashed by the saddle shoe. But that would be a boring option, and it's something that to see something that you expect is not terribly interesting, and that's why he tried to betray this hypothetical audience member's expectation as a filmmaker to have the spider crawl up India's leg, and the way he wrote or revised the script was to have this spider actually crawl inside India's skirt, and to show all of this in this one scene. But then he thought better of it, because to show the spider not only crawl up her leg uninterrupted, but to have it enter inside the skirt, well, he thought that presented India in too strange a light. To show her as such a fearless girl is probably making too much of a statement when we are only at the introductory stage to her character.
처음에는 인디아를 평범한 소녀처럼 등장시켜야 인디아의 전이가 재밌어지는 것이 아니겠습니까? 그래서 그 장면은 그리고 나서 이제 마지막에 영철이가 죽을 때 그에 보면서 또 기억했죠. 마치 인디아의 스카프로 들어가는 것이 영철이었던 것처럼 또 그의 몸을 그의 영혼이 떠나는 것 같은 느낌을 주고 싶었어요. 그래서 뭔가 이 두 사람, 왜냐하면 좀 인간과는 다른 어떤 우리의 종족, 인간과는 느낌이 또 엉클 차이는 정말 실제 한 사람인가, 인디아의 상상이 만들어낸 건 아닌가, 그런 느낌들을 좀 보여주고 싶었어요. 그러나 이것은 하나의 그냥 해석에 불과한 것입니다. 쓰레기 같은 거 갖다 뻔해서 필요가 없어요.
So that's why he cut that shot of spider entering the skirt out of that scene and placed it later in the film. As much as possible, he felt he needed to present India as an ordinary girl, at least at the start, in order to make her character's journey that much more interesting. And just like how the spider enters into a skirt, Uncle Charlie enters into a life, and upon his death, we see the spider crawling out of his shirt, as if to allude to how his spirit would leave his body. Another function this spider metaphor serves is perhaps to speak to how the character of Uncle Charlie could be something more than human. Or another way to see it could be that a question: is Uncle Charlie someone who actually existed in India's life, or is he a figment of India's imagination? But, however, these are only what, well, it's only a interpretation of how you could see the film. These are possible interpretations, and he wouldn't want to dictate this hypothetical audience member's perception of the film.